What's happening, guys? Today's another day on the channel, and today we're going to be working on the Datsun again. It's been a little while. It's been about a week. And we're going to finish off the back here. We got the new bearings that we need to get for the front and the back. So we're going to push those bearings in. Then we're going to reassemble some of this back here and get the new shoes on because we got new shoes for this thing. So we'll put the new shoes on it. We'll clean up our drums, brake clean it, Scotch-Brite it, put it all back together, get the rear wheels in, and then we're going to hop up to the front and we're going to get the start getting the brake booster out with all of that stuff, and then we're going to reassemble all of that. We need to get 2 brake lines for the front because both of those broke on reinstallation, which we could just get a flaring kit and a small amount of brake hose, brake line to reassemble that, because they actually are in different orientations now than when we first took it off, because the new coilovers put it at a different weird angle. So we'll do that, and that's basically about it. This car didn't really need that much, so we're just helping out Shaw's brother and we're getting some of this stuff done. I saw in a couple of the comments I'm robbing work from HP Logic. Jack knows about this, Shaw knows about this. This is Shaw's brother's car. I'm not taking work from anybody. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff. We're just having fun, helping people out, and just living our lives. SR20's back together. Let's get on this Datsun. Okay, so we're having a little bit of trouble getting this bearing in here. We got the shoes on, that was the easy part. The bearing is the hard part. So I ended up getting the old bearing out of the old strut here, and I was trying to use that bearing along with this piece here that goes on the back to hold the front and then pull the bearing in using this threaded rod right here, and it just didn't work. So I need to figure out how to get a cup that goes on the front here that is stronger so that I can put that back onto there and be able to pull this bearing in to get it to where it needs to be. And I'm using that old bearing because it's the exact same size and it won't damage this bearing here at all. So it'll just keep that bearing right where it needs to be, and that bearing will do what it needs to do when we're done. And then we got to get our new little cover here and tap that into there afterwards, and that'll sit on the back right there. So that part's taking a little bit. We're trying to get this thing on here, and it's just it's different. It's different and it's difficult. So real quick, we're gonna get the other shoes on though, and then we'll come back tomorrow with a new game plan on how we're gonna get this thing onto there. So yeah, we'll be back in a little while, guys. Okay, so this video here is gonna be kind of short. Once again, I'm kind of doing some more Datsun stuff. We're going to try to do the brake booster right now. It looks like a lot of these brake lines on this car need to be replaced. So the 2 front brake lines need to be replaced, the 2 rear brake lines need to be replaced, and then the wheel bearings need to be replaced in the back still. And I need to get the bearing pressed so I can actually do that. I watched a couple other people do it. It seems like they kind of just hit it with a hammer and it goes in. I don't necessarily want to do that. I have the old bearing that I could hit to get it in, so I might try to do that before I leave today, but I want to really just get a bearing press to, to press it in instead of having to like hit it with a hammer to get it in there. But yeah, we're working on that. So under here, under the dash though, we got the hiccups, I think. Underneath the dash here, we're taking off the brake booster. We already have the brake master off, and that's right here, kind of off to the side. It's very corroded in there, very corroded. So that's off. The 2 brake lines on the bottom down there don't seem to want to come off. We'll figure out how to get those off in a little bit. It doesn't have a lot of brake fluid in it. It's only in this one right here. This one is empty because I think this was the rear and it's kind of all gone out now, or it's the front that leaked on the floor over there. So we'll get this off. We'll try to get the new one on here. We're going to pull this thing here off, and we're going to try to see if we can do a rebuild on this. I guess you can rebuild it somehow, so we'll try to do that. Maybe we're going to twist the whole thing apart, and then we put in this other piece. I don't know. We're going to try to figure it out. But let's go ahead, take this whole thing off, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll try to figure out what we can do next. Okay, so I was able to get this old brake reservoir off. So now we're able to put the new one on, which is right here. This is the new brake reservoir. We had to get this piece off for our old reservoir. I'm going to clean this thing up a little bit. We don't have any brushes, so I'm going to try to do the best I can with some brake clean and a couple of towels, and then we're just going to send around home onto that thing. and we should be good as new. The brake booster itself, we need to clean out as well. There is a rebuild kit for this. I was just watching a video on how to do this. It's very complicated, and it doesn't seem like it's not worth my time, but it's a thing that I don't want to mess up because I don't know if this part is replaceable, because this is a Datsun and this thing is super old, and who knows if you can get this anymore. So if somebody were to replace this or to try to fix it, I would want a professional to try to fix it. So I'll let Shaw's brother know about that, and we'll just put it back in, and hopefully our brake reservoir will fix our problem. If not, then we'll have to take this thing back out and we'll send it off to the other person to have it rebuilt the proper way. So let's go ahead, clean this up, get all the gunk off this thing, and then put it back together, and then we should be good as new, and we can start putting it back together. Okay, so we're cleaning this thing up here, and that pile there is already what we took off of this thing. So there's actually a divot on the back here that has it, and this side over here has a divot too. So like this whole thing is covered with junk inside it. So we're gonna clean all this off. We're gonna get it nice and shiny-ish. We're gonna put it back together. We're gonna get this back in, and then we're going to just hook those two brake lines back up, and then we should be good to go with this thing. Okay, so this is as clean as we got it here. I don't have brushes, so we're good. Got it pretty clean there. I mean, it's not clean to like extent, but it's clean enough. We got that done. Got our new one right there. We got our piece. We got to grab our bolts. We need to bolt this thing up, and then we can get this all together. We're actually going to put this thing in first, put our brake lines on, then we're going to put the brake booster in, then we're going to put our piece in the middle, and then we're going to bolt everything back up, and then we'll bolt the stuff on the inside back up, and then we'll see what else we have for this thing. Okay, filter on, new brake reservoir on, cleaned up our plate, cleaned up our brake booster a little bit. We put the lines on the bottom of the brake master here. Now we're gonna go inside and we're gonna finish off what we need to do in there. The last thing we need to do right here is we need to grab our hose, and we need to put this gingerly down here on the nipple. And there we go. That hose is on there. And now the brake booster system will work. We need to get a clamp for it. And yeah, that shut. This was the old clamp right here. We're not going to use that anymore. This thing is actually really cool. I like these triple carbs. They're doing something else with another one of these things, but we're not going to talk about that. This guy also has a couple of these, so yeah, it's a lot of Datsuns. So we're going to be able to close this for right now a little bit, and we will be on the inside of the car now, and we'll be doing some stuff there so that we can get the brake booster all bolted back up, and then we can look at the back again and try to figure out what we can do with that real quick. And yeah, I just didn't want to do that brake booster thing because I don't want to break it, and I think it's going to take a long time to do it because you have to have a bunch of special tools to really do it. Technically, I don't think they're supposed to come apart, but they make rebuild kits for them, so they can, but it's really hard. We're gonna do stuff inside now. We're gonna bolt back up that pedal and a bolts that go around it, so we'll be right back. Okay, so under here, we took off 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a pin, and then another pin up here on the top. And then the brake booster came out. You can kind of see the lever action right about there. That's where the lever is. So we had to take all that off, and then we got the brake booster out, and now it's all back in. Everything's back bolted up. Now we just have to put fluid in it and get brake lines and for the rear, and we should be good to go. Front brake lines as well. So we got to get a couple lists going here, and the next thing is to check out the rear hub real quick. So everybody that I've seen that does this bearing here in the back, they kind of just take the hub off, or they're going from the back side over there, and they're just kind of using the old bearing, which is right there, and just tapping it back in, or they're just using a hammer and they're just tapping the bearing in. So, I mean, we could try it real quick. I would feel a lot more comfortable using like an actual bearing press or something like that, or even like a ball joint press, if it's big enough to go over this whole thing here and then to just press the bearing in. So I would feel a lot more comfortable using that, because then I know that the bearing is getting a full seat all the way around and it's getting pushed in the way it's supposed to be pushed in, and not just by wailing on it with a hammer, and then you can potentially damage your bearing and then you need another set of bearings. And once again, these are parts for a Datsun. This stuff is not cheap, and these bearings are relatively easy to get. We got them in a couple days, but they're not cheap. They're like $150 for 2 bearings and a seal. So, yeah, I'd rather not break these and then just save Shaw's brother some money by doing it the right way. So, yeah, let's go ahead and try to tap this in real quick. And then if it doesn't work, then we'll come at it with another plan another time. But we did some stuff today. We got that all situated for the brakes there. What I did also was I took the front wheels off and I tightened up our tie rod ends, or our sway bar end links, because those were loose. So I tightened up those. And then we just need the front brake line. We need brake lines all the way around. So we could either get brake lines from here to the actual master cylinder for these, and then for the actual brake caliper in the front, or we could just make some hard line brake lines, which I feel more comfortable just using some braided brake line, just using that, and then it would actually flex with the car, and it would allow it to move a lot better. So yeah, let's try to tap in this bearing real quick, and we'll be right back with our verdict. Okay, so getting that bearing in with the hammer doesn't really feel right to me. I tried it, didn't like it. So what I did is I'm just gonna leave it, and the next time I come, I will finish this whole thing up and everything will be done. We'll bleed the brakes, we'll do all the stuff. I actually got to send Shaw to make a hose tomorrow to go get me 4 of these here. Basically, on one end, it has to have this, and on the other end, it has to have a fitting like this so that it can go into the brakes. Back here and in the front, one has to have a 90 on it, or like a 45 or like a 120 or something like that. And then the other one can just be a straight. So the fronts can just be straight, and then the backs have to be like a 90 or something like that. So I'll relay that to Shaw in the morning, and he can go get me these just a little bit longer. Realistically, it just needs to be like that much longer right there. That much for both sides, for the front and for the rear, and then it'll work. So, yep, last couple steps here, and we are good. I'll try to make this video shorter than usual so that there's not a lot of talking. But yeah, guys, that's about it. If you guys like the video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, comment, share, do all the good stuff. And I hope to see you guys in the next one with a little bit more hands-on stuff. Later.